Hi, sixth grade. Welcome to week 3. Now that we have finished our Tuck Everlasting and our packet, we're going to do a project for Tuck Everlasting. So you'll see in the attachments a list of projects. You're going to choose one and then rubrics that go with each one of those projects. So I'll give you some suggestions as to how to maybe complete each project just to help you out a little bit. So the first one, writing a sequel, it has several questions there that it wants you to ask kind of about what would happen, and this would be a fantasy story. So you would go through the same writing process, going through fantasy elements. So use your fantasy element sheet to help you and continue on with the story. Remember, this is not a high fantasy, it's low fantasy because it just has a little bit of magic in it. So kind of continue with that idea. Do a pre-writing sheet like we always do, and then do a rough draft and then a final. And then the rubric is in the attachments. A reporter, this one is going to be like a newspaper article, and it's an eyewitness account. So you're acting like you're in the town of Tree Gap, and they're talking about May's escape from jail, and you're a reporter, and it gives you some questions there to go through and to think about. So this would be like writing a newspaper article. So remember to think about the who, what, when, where, why, and how of the article, and write that information first, and then go on and look at also your rubric once again. That would help you along, okay? Do a rough draft and then a final copy. The Legend of Tree Gap. So this is also a story, but instead of writing a fantasy, you're going to write a legend, like how this spring kind of came to be. And there's also a rubric in there. So you're going to go through the same process, use the elements that are listed on the rubric to help you come up with that legend, and then answer the questions as to how you came up with this, to kind of help you come up with this legend. Once again, this is like a story. Okay, a diary. So keeping a diary, it once again has all these different questions and tells you exactly how many entries you need to have, which is 5, and then some things that you need to answer. There's also a rubric to help you with this, but write it out, that you are going to stay the same age you are today, forever, and start this kind of fictional diary. What would happen, etc. And you have to have at least 5 entries, and the rubric will give you more details on that as well. So you're going to write if you were the author, Natalie Babbitt. And part of what makes this book so special is the wonderful imagery the author uses. As we went along and read, when we were in the classroom, we talked about the personification and the similes and things like that along the way. So you're going to write a story of your own and try using these similes, metaphors, and personification. So you're going to write another story. I suggest using a fantasy story, just like we did, and you can use the fantasy rubric for that as well. So follow the same kind of idea as the first part, where you would do your pre-writing, rough draft, final copy. Okay. And then the advertisement. So this is if the man in the yellow suit had lived, he would have had to advertise the spring water in order to sell it. So you're going to make a poster advertising the water. What would it say? How would he persuade people to pay for it? There are propaganda techniques in your Voyages book. So if you go to Voyages, you can look that up and see that those will help you. So those propaganda techniques are on pages 128 through 129 and 144 and 1 through 145 in your Voyages book. So use some of those to help you to sell your product, which is the spring water. So as I said, there are rubrics in the attachments as well, and pick one of the projects and complete it, and that's what you're going to be working on the entire week. Okay, I hope you have a good week and take care of yourselves.